John Gill's Exposition of the Bible, Revelation chapter 1, verse 17. Reading the verse from the King James Bible first, quote, "And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last," unquote. John Gill, quote, "And when I saw him," the glorious person here described, who was just behind him, and of whom he had a full view, being so near him, "I fell at his feet as dead." Through consternation and fear, the sight was so amazing and terrible. The appearance of a divine person in any degree of majesty and glory has had some considerable effect upon men, even upon the best of men. But John seems to be more affected with it than any, as the vision was the more grand and illustrious. Manoah was afraid he should die, but he did not fall dead. Ezekiel fell upon his face, but had his senses. Daniel's comeliness turned into corruption, and he retained no strength. He fainted and fell into a deep sleep. See Judges chapter 13, verse 22. But John fell down at once as dead. This panic, which good men are seized with, at any more than ordinary appearances of God or apprehensions of his presence, arose from a notion that present death ensues at sight of him. Hence Jacob wonders and is thankful that he had seen God face to face, and yet his life was preserved. Footnote from the reader. I wonder, was it God or was it Jesus that he saw? End of the footnote. Genesis 32:30. In such an effect as here upon the body, any uncommon discovery of the divine being has, partly through the weakness of human nature, which in its present circumstances is not able to bear the rays and glories of a divine person, hence the resurrection of the body in power, glory, and immortality, incorruption, and spirituality, is necessary to the enjoyment of God in Christ in a state of bliss and happiness to all eternity, and partly through a consciousness of sin, ever since which the fall of Adam had occasioned fear and perturbation of mind, even the best of saints, when they had any sense of divine majesty being near, and an unusual form of glory. "And he laid his right hand upon me, even the same in which he had, and held the 7 stars, in which showed what affection he had for him, and what esteem he had him, what care he took of him, and what power he would exert in lifting up, strengthening, and supporting him. For he laid not his hand on him in wrath and angers, but in love, and in order to raise him up and revive his spirits, and remove his fears." Hence the Ethiopic version renders it, quote, "And he took hold on me with his right hand and lifted me up," unquote. As he does all who, in a spiritual sense, fall at his feet, it is always safe and comfortably falling there. "Saying unto me, Fear not," language which John had heard from him in the days of his flesh, and might therefore be close now, on purpose that he might the sooner know who he was and be comforted. See Matthew chapter 14, verse 27. "I am the first and the last." A way of speaking used by God when he's about to comfort his people and remove their fears. See Isaiah 41:4. And is used by Christ for the same purpose here, and so is a proof of his true and proper deity, and is expressive of his eternity, and also of his dignity and excellency. He is the first and last in divine predestination, in the covenant of grace, in creation, in the business of salvation, in his church, by whom and for whom are all things in it. He is the head of the body, the son of his own house, and the firstborn among many brethren. And so the Alexandrian copy read, here, "The firstborn and the last." The first is the name of the Messiah with the Jews. See Gill in Revelation chapter 1, verse 8. And of John Gill's Exposition, Revelation chapter 1, verse 17.